What's up, guys? Welcome back to Overtime, episode 4. I'm your host, JT. Here we go again. We are back again with a brand new episode with brand new content. I have a lot of news and stuff to go over with you guys today. And you know what? Let's just jump right into it. So, first things first, I want to talk about a couple of things while I'm on before we get into the main show of things. First and foremost, I hope that everyone watched college football this weekend and got to see, some of the dirty hits that um, Colorado State was doing to Colorado. Did not appreciate what they did to Travis Hunter. I hope he makes a speedy recovery. He will be out for 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks with a perforated liver, thanks to that targeting hit. I don't know, man. Like watching that scene kind of reminded me of last year watching DeMar Hamlin go down in that scary situation in the Bills and Bengals game. Targeting is just something that that should not be acceptable. And for that student to still be able to attend, that to still be on that football team is just way, unacceptable. It's not something that should be condoned in any scene, any necessary thing. So, again, um, glad that he got up. Glad that he's doing better. Hopefully, he makes a speedy recovery. I would love to see him thrive under Deion Sanders. Deion's done a great job at Colorado. I don't care what anybody says. Colorado has one of the best football programs in the country as of right now. So take it with a grain of salt, whatever you want to do. But moving on to our NFL content for the day. We're going to be doing our week 2 recap. So we had a lot of good games last week. For week 1, when I did my predictions, I was 10-16. I only missed 6 games on my predictions. This week is the same thing, 10-16. So either I'm very good at this, or I'm just going to keep getting 6 wrong. I don't know. My guesses are pretty good. So going into some of the scores, we got the Eagles and the Vikings. I called that one correctly. The Eagles did play the Vikings. Outplayed, not really to my liking, but whatever. The one I got wrong was the Ravens and Bengals. I could have swore the Bengals were going to bounce back after that Week 1 incident with Joe Burrow only throwing for 82 yards. Obviously, I was wrong on that part. The Ravens coming out with that win. I was also wrong with the Lions and Seahawks. I was giving it to the Lions. I really saw them winning that game. It was a pretty winnable game, honestly. But the Seahawks just wanted it more. Then the Colts and Texans. I called that one pretty correctly. The Colts winning. Then we had the Bears and Buccaneers. I had the Buccaneers winning. And then we had the Jaguars versus the Chiefs. Of course, the Chiefs are going to win. Going over to the Packers and Falcons game, I really had the Packers taking that one, but the Falcons came out on top on that. The Bills bounced back and beat the Raiders, which I called. The Chargers losing to the Titans is not something I would have put on my bingo sheet, honestly. Then we have the 49ers beating the Rams, called that. The Giants making a comeback against the Cardinals. I could have swore the Giants were going to go down 0-2, but obviously I was wrong on that one. Then we have the Jets and the Cowboys. The Cowboys comes out on top. The Broncos and Commanders. I had the Commanders winning that game, but it was a very close game to where it was winnable for the Broncos at the end, but again, it was just not their day. The Patriots losing to the Dolphins, called it. Saints beating the Panthers, called it. But the Browns losing to the Steelers, did not call that. I had it the other way around. So again, my record for my predictions in 10-16. So if you guys want to start betting in week 4, I'll lead you to the motherland. I'll lead you to some of that chingy ching. Just remember who got you there. Anyways, let's go on to some key stats that I wanted to talk about and put forward for a lot of people. Kirk Cousins, 31 to 44, 364 yards, and 4 touchdowns is a very good stat line for Kirk Cousins in his loss to Jalen Hurts, who was 18 for 23, 193 yards, 1 interception, 1 touchdown, and 2 rushing touchdowns. Here's my thing about the Jalen Hurts debacle. I don't know if a lot of you guys know this, but there's a lot of fan reaction against the QB sneak. I have no problem with the QB sneak as long as it's a way, an effective way for the quarterback not to get hurt. When you're just blatantly throwing your body into situations where you don't need to, like Jalen Hurts blatantly does, Josh Allen blatantly does it as well. Some of these running quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson, and even in the rookie Anthony Richardson, throwing your bodies into these situations where, instead of taking the sack, I get it, you want to get out of coverage, but not trying to get the extra yards when your body can be potentially messed up in that situation. You have to take that into consideration. And with that being said, I don't like the way that sometimes Jalen Hurts just have a disregard for his body. And I hope he doesn't get hurt. I hope that the Eagles are able to get that passing game going for him so he doesn't have to run all the time or whatnot. So with that being said, moving on to Geno Smith. Geno Smith had a really good game, 32 for 41, 328 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Jared Goff also had a good game, 28 of 35, 323 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. From definitely a step up from last week for Geno. Geno had a struggle in week 1, but coming into week 2, looking like a prime starter. Jared Goff, the confidence is building. He's there for it. I think the Lions are still a scary threat for this year. CJ Stroud also had a very good game, in my opinion. 30 for 47, 384 yards, and 2 touchdowns in the loss to the Colts. Anthony Richardson had a great game as well, but he went out with a concussion during one of his rushing touchdowns, so it was taken over by Mishu. Then you have Baker Mayfield, 26 and 34, 317 yards for 1 touchdown. And then finally, Justin Herbert, 27 and 41, 305, and 2 touchdowns. The reason why I pulled out these stat lines is because I want to talk about a couple things within in our next segment about some of what I'm seeing going into week 3. So let's talk about our top defenses in the league as of going into week 3. So right now, the Cowboys have the best defense in the National Football League going into week 3. Me and my buddy Omar, what's up, Omar Ledesma? Love you. We had a discussion the other night. He was like, "Are you ready to admit that the Cowboys is the best team in the NFL?" Here's my thing. They're the best defense in the NFL as of right now. I don't know what week 5 and beyond is going to bring me with the Cowboys. I will tell all Cowboys fans, don't get your hopes up too high. Talk to me when you guys get to the NFC champion. Then we can start saying, you know what, this is the team to beat in the NFC. That's how I'm looking at it. And as I told him, and as we'll discuss later on, there's some things for the Cowboys they have to consider going into next year, and going into the playoffs this year. But we'll get to that in a second. The number 2 defense behind them is the Chiefs. The Chiefs defense have only given up 14.2, so 2 touchdowns essentially, and then 3 field goals. That's all they've given up so far within their season. The defense in week 2 saved that game because the offense couldn't get it together in the second half, but the defense kept giving us the opportunities that we needed. So hopefully the Chiefs capitalize on that against the Bears next week, and the defense comes through again. And then the third place team that I have is the 49ers. I still think the 49ers is a top 3 defense. I think that a lot of people need to be on high alert about that defense. It's a very dangerous defense, and this is how they're going to continue playing at a high level of football, is because of their defense. So going into our next topic, I want to talk about the DeShaun Watson situation. DeShaun Watson, I'm sorry to say this to any Browns fans or anyone that is a DeShaun Watson fan from his Texan days, whatever. He's not as good as what he's advertised. If we're going to be honest, DeShaun Watson really stole a bag. He really stole the bag that he was given from the Browns, and the Browns are paying him all this money to just lose in an upset. A lot of people are saying they rather saw him get injured than Nick Chubb. That's saying something when you want your star quarterback getting injured before your star running back, which by all means, I think that does affect the Browns season in a whole as a whole, because now you don't have that X factor as far as your run game. You're not as dangerous anymore. The Browns are right now shopping for this another running back. They don't like Ford for some reason. I thought he did phenomenal in the game against the Steelers, but for some reason the two sides are not agreeing on something, and they're looking at bringing back Kareem Hunt. My honest opinion on that is that DeShaun Watson, with Deshaun Watson gone, with Deshaun Watson in his situation, he needs to step up. This is the year for him. There's no more excuses for Deshaun Watson. This is what he needs to do. And to elevate his game, and this was the year for it. So now it's shut up or it's shut up or put up for him, and so it is what it is going into week 3. Is it a little too early to be a little judgmental? Yes, it is week 2. We're not going to be as judgmental. I'll say more by week 5. How about that? But I do want to talk about a couple teams that's, you know, teetering, but not really. We shouldn't panic yet. Week 3 is a really weird week, in my personal opinion, for football. The reason why is because you've had the first 2 weeks to kind of make your mistakes. Now it's time to solidify your team to what standard that you want them to be at. Where do you want your team to be going into the next couple of weeks? So right now, we have 9 teams who are currently 0-2, who haven't won a game yet going into week 3. That's the Chargers, the Texans, the Cardinals, the Bears, the Panthers, the Broncos, the Patriots, the Vikings, and the Bengals. Let's talk about each one of these teams and what their issues is. The Chargers, the head coach, he has to go. He's the issue. It's obvious in the play calling and the feel of the game for the Chargers. You're telling me that the Chargers, damn near won this game, and now damn near won their games, and now you're just falling apart at the end of it. It seems to me for the Chargers, if I'm gonna be honest, it seems to me that loss from the Jaguars a year ago, or back in the playoffs last year, is starting to take its toll on them. I feel like losing in that fashion, losing in a Falcons fashion, how about that? It really messes with your mental. Most of those guys remember that, and that's what it's looking like. They are falling apart at the seams. And then if Eckler goes down for a long period of time, who do you rely on for your run game? You have still some good, receivers, but then if they go down as well, that's always been the problem. But it's right now, from what the Chargers' perspective, it might be time to move on from their head coach. I think wholeheartedly, if the Chargers don't do well by week 5, we might be seeing someone else taking the reins as head coach. We're going over to the Texans. I like where CJ Stroud and the Texans are as of right now. Yes, they're 0-2, but at the same time, I think it's not because the team's bad. It's just because they're trying to find their footing. You have a rookie quarterback who's never played on this high of a level. You have him trying to settle in. You're having him try to create the offense, create the cadence for everybody. You have a lot riding on him. So with that being said, yes, mistakes will be made, but CJ Stroud is still going to be the guy long term for the Texans. I don't see that changing. I like Nico Collins. I like Dameon Pierce. They just need to be more productive. I like the defense. More productivity for the defense creates more offensive plays for the Texans. We'll see what they do in the next week. The Cardinals. The Cardinals have been a very competitive team. I don't even the loss against the Giants on Sunday. I mean, sure, the Giants made a comeback, whatever, but it's the Giants and the thing of it is, I'm sorry, the Giants to me is a bad team. The Cardinals, they are a bad team, yes, but like only in the sense of they're not playing to they're playing to win, but they're also a rebuilding team. It's time for them to really look at what they're going to do for their future. Are they keeping Kyler Murray? Are they going to move on and find another quarterback? That's the type of situation that the Cardinals are in. But for them to stay competitive all throughout is actually a good sign that the Cardinals still have the pieces. They just need to do something with it. Moving on to the Bears. The Bears are just downright bad. The Bears are a bad team. There's no ifs, and, or but about it. Justin Fields is bad, unfortunately. Maybe it's maybe he needs a new change of scenery. Maybe he needs a new team. Maybe it's time to part ways because obviously the Justin Fields and Bears relationship is not working at all. The Bears have the pieces. They just need a quarterback to lead that piece. Until then, the Bears are going to continuously be bad, and it's going to show throughout the Bears have to play the Chiefs this week. And if I know anything, I think Patrick Mahomes is about to light the earth on fire, and Justin Fields has to deal with that. Justin Fields has to deal with the pressure of that defense. He likes to run. Our defense likes to hit. So it's going to be a very I think at the end of this season, the Bears and Justin Fields have to make a decision. And I think the Bears, if they finish in the way I think they're going to finish, they're going to have a top 5 pick in the first round. And with that being said, they're going to use that top 5 pick in the first round to go get a quarterback. Justin Fields might be out of a job at the end of the season if things doesn't progress in the way that the Chicago Bears are needing them to progress. Continuing on, the Panthers. The Panthers, they're okay in the position that they are. No, not a lot of Panther fans want to hear that, but hear me out. Bryce Young, he's in a good space. I just think that they need more productivity from the defense. They did some work against the Saints. They was holding them down, but you got to give Bryce Young the chance. A lot of the fans were trying to rush. I think fan bases are weird when it comes to rookies. You want to rush them to the greatness they had in college. You can't do that. That's what messes up a lot of rookies and diminishes their work. Defensive rookies usually work out better than offensive rookie only because you expect them to, take on the workload right away. If you look at Robert Griffin III, the best quarterback coming out of his class, the Redskins expected him to take the workload and see what happened to him. He was out of the league within the first couple of years. Unfortunate sadness on that part. And that's what happens to, Mark Sanchez, Matt Leinart. When you give the reins to rookie quarterbacks who aren't ready for that type of, for that endeavor or whatnot, it becomes a problem. And then that problem is like, oh, we hear the fan bases. They think he sucks. Oh, his throws, they're trash. But for the Panthers, I think this is the best move they've made in a long time. I think this is one of the better quarterbacks since Cam Newton for the Panthers. I think we just need to hold on to our seatbelts, let the Panthers cook, and we'll see what happens at the end of the year. The Broncos. The Broncos is in Colin from the herd. He said it best. They're an implosion. They are, they're not good, but they're not in a good space, but they're not in a bad space. They're in that middle ground. You have Sean Payton and Russell Wilson trying to figure out their own identities within this group and see if they can pull some wins out of their behinds. I don't know though. I don't know if that's something that this team is ready to see yet, as far as winning streaks, whatever. The Broncos, to me, they have a lot to really show. Russell Wilson has to light the fields on fire because right now his first year was horrible. Now you have Sean Payton. You're starting off the year kind of rough. You're starting to tell people that the money and the picks and whatever that Denver sent to get you was not worth it. And now they're going to be screwed out of a future for the next year or so because of you. Now we have to keep you. So that's the kind of the situation the Broncos in. The Patriots. I think the Patriots is in a great space. The Patriots, I like Mac Jones. He's a good quarterback. When you actually have an offensive coordinator actually calling good plays for Mac Jones, he produces. This is what something Matt Patricia was not doing last season. So now he's doing well. I think, the loss against the Dolphins, I don't think that was a bad loss. I think that if we can tone down the mistakes from Mac Jones, we might get the win productivity up. We just need Bill Belichick to fall behind that notion as well. The Vikings. Like I said, Kirk Cousins, 31 for 44, 364 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's good. It's not the quarterback. I saw I saw the game. I watched the fumbles. It's not the quarterback's fault that you're losing. You have a good quarterback. You can't say, well, he doesn't play good in prime time. What do you mean? He played phenomenal in prime time. No interceptions, 4 touchdowns, and he only missed. I think his percentage is about 68, 70%. So I'm thinking like I don't understand the talk that comes with Kirk Cousins and the bashing of Kirk Cousins, and I won't allow it. I think Kirk Cousins is still a top 10 quarterback in the league. I think the Vikings are going to make a comeback. I think the Vikings is still a dangerous team, and I think that they're going to be in the playoffs. So this is just a little hiccup on that part. Going over to the last team on the 0-2 train is the Bengals. Yes, the Bengals will get it together. When they'll get it together is going to be the question, because my thing about week 3 is for everyone to get their wins that they need. There is going to be that one team that's going to be 0-3, but for right now, the Bengals are not going to be that team. Hopefully, not 0-3. The reason why I say hopefully not 0-3 is because the way Joe Burrow and the guys have been playing. Jamar Chase played like absolute trash last week. And you could say maybe it was because they wasn't giving him the ball not enough, whatever. I don't care. I think because of all the trash talking that he's done and just, the hype around the Bengals, sometimes they're a little overhyped. The Bengals do have one of the best receiving cores. Their defense has not been playing up to par. And on top of that, you have one of the worst offensive lines in football, in my personal opinion. Because when you look at the tapes, the reason why Joe Burrow is holding that calf muscle is because the blitzes is coming from that left side, because his left side is the weakest side. But you went out and got Orlando Brown Jr. thinking you're good when you're not, because when he played for the Chiefs, the place that he was getting sacked, the place that Patrick Mahomes was getting sacked from was the left side all last season. So just something to keep in mind. But I think the Bengals, yes, the Bengals need to come to play this weekend, because they need to get themselves out of this. Because my thing of it is, we don't want to look down at week 5 and you're 2-3. That puts you in a bad position, because that next 5 weeks to week 10, you want to be in a position to where you're like, you know what, we're in the playoffs and we're going to be okay. We just need to fight for first seed now. You don't want to be fighting for a wild card spot against some other teams, and then you don't make it, and then that all the money that was spent on you, especially Joe Burrow, is just looking like it was a waste. So, in my personal opinion, for these teams that are 0-2, who do I think needs the most? Who do I think needs to win the most? It's the Chargers, the Texans, the Panthers, the Broncos, the Patriots, the Vikings, and the Bengals. Everybody else, it's kind of just like it's the ball's in your court, essentially. Moving on to our next thing, Baker Mayfield is actually good. Here's my thing about Baker Mayfield. I had low hopes for him coming into the season. I had low hopes for the Buccaneers. But with him tearing it up with the receivers he's got, Mike Evans and I believe Godwin. My thing of it is, what happens if Mike Evans is traded or leaves after the season? What happens then? Is this a one-time thing we're getting from Baker, or what? So my thing about Baker Mayfield is that until week 5, yes, he's doing a phenomenal job, but how long does that keep up? How long does this hot streak keep going for Baker Mayfield? And is people going to actually lose to Baker Mayfield, or is he's going to actually earn these wins? That's my thing about Baker. The next thing, I saw this post and it made me laugh, because it's only week 2. There's not a lot of the room to panic for a lot of teams, not yet at least. But I saw this post that says, "Does the Chiefs miss Eric Bieniemy?" Because right now the Commanders are scoring about 31 points a game compared to about 20 for the Chiefs. Let me be the first to say that the Chiefs do not miss Eric Bieniemy. We miss him as far as like, yeah, we wish he was here, but we wish you well at the Commanders. The reason why I say that is because I wholeheartedly believe that the Chiefs will still tear it up no matter how you look at it. They're still going to make those wins, whatever. My thing about the Commanders is that the Commanders, they have a lot to prove this season. Eric Bieniemy has a lot to prove. He's trying to prove that he is a head coach. And by taking the lateral move, not moving up the lateral, but taking, the next move over in the same position, you know, he has a lot to prove. He has to see if the offense is proven. And honestly, the Commanders are doing pretty well. I have high hopes for the Commanders this season. Not enough to where I'm saying, oh yeah, they're gonna be right up there with the Cowboys and the Eagles in their division. But as of right now, they are all tied in that division. But who's going to come out on top on that part is going to be the overall question. Zach Wilson is my next discussion, and I think Jets fans. I don't know. Do you guys? I don't know. I don't know how Jets fans are feeling about Zach Wilson right now. My personal opinion on Zach Wilson: let him throw the ball. Let him throw the ball. Stop trying to run. Stop trying to give Dalvin Cook and Brees Hall the ball on first and second. And then when it's 3rd and 12, 3rd and 13, all right, Zach, go ahead and throw the ball and hopefully nothing happens. What do you expect to happen when you're only letting him throw like one down, maybe two downs out of a series? Let Zach Wilson lead you to the promised land. Your defense is good enough to hold most teams to under 20 points. All you need for Zach Wilson to do is play like Joe Flacco and get you 20 points, and the defense can probably do the rest. That's my take on Zach Wilson. Does the Jets need another quarterback? Probably so, but I only think because Zach Wilson is in the wrong situation. I feel like if Zach Wilson and Justin Fields traded spots, we would see two completely different teams. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. My last subject for this is Patrick Mahomes. I saw another thing where I guess a broadcaster had said that during the Chiefs and Jaguars game that Trevor Lawrence is no Patrick Mahomes. Here's my take on that. No quarterback in the league is Patrick Mahomes. that is it. 10 teams passed over him. I bet Chicago right now wishes they would have got Patrick Mahomes when they had the chance. I bet you the Bears would have been a way better team. Not as good as the Chiefs, but better in a better situation. But the Chiefs were blessed enough to get Patrick Mahomes, and he shows why he's worth the money. When I say this to a lot of people, they get mad at me. When I say that some quarterbacks aren't worth the money that are being paid, oh, why not? What makes you think that these guys don't deserve it? I didn't say they didn't deserve to get paid, but take Lamar Jackson for example. Great quarterback. He's in my top 5. He's in my top 5 of quarterbacks. I like the guy. Is he worth the money that he's being paid from Baltimore right now? Not at all. The reason why I say that is it all counts. It counts when you go to the playoffs. It counts. That's how I look at it. What have you done for my team? What have you brought to this? There's a lot of quarterbacks that said, "Oh, well, I took my team to the playoffs." But how far did you get in the playoffs? Patrick Mahomes has been in 5 AFC title games. Patrick Mahomes have been in 3 Super Bowls. I can only name a couple quarterbacks that's even been to the Super Bowl. That's playing right now. Matthew Stafford, Joe Burrow, Jared Goff. I don't think anybody remembers Jared Goff took his team to a Super Bowl. Jimmy Garoppolo, just a couple guys. I mean, Aaron Rodgers would be in that list, but he's injured right now. So I'm talking active quarterbacks. And there's only a handful of quarterbacks that can say that they beat Patrick Mahomes when it mattered, and that's the playoffs. The playoffs to me is the conundrum. That's where it matters. So saying that Joe Burrow and Josh Allen are better than Patrick Mahomes, sure, regular season games, whatever. But can they beat him when it counts? And only one person has done that. That's Joe Burrow. But Joe Burrow couldn't compete where it counted. He hasn't been back since. So that's my take on the Patrick Mahomes situation right there. I think we need to stop comparing Patrick Mahomes to whoever's in the league right now and start comparing him to the greats, because Patrick Mahomes is going to go down as a Hall of Famer quarterback. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And probably, my prediction is this: Michael Jordan is considered the GOAT. Before LeBron, everyone all considers LeBron. He's great. LeBron is great. But the GOAT title has always been given to Mike. That's the GOAT. Even though he's tried to pass it on, a lot of people argue that Michael Jordan is the GOAT. Michael Jordan doesn't have the most rings, the most points, nothing. Michael Jordan is the GOAT because of the way he came in and played basketball. That's the same thing when it comes to Patrick Mahomes. Yes, Tom Brady has 7 rings. Patrick Mahomes might surpass him as the GOAT by only getting 2 more rings. So I'll let that sink in. That's my hot take on that. So moving on actually back into basketball, into a little basketball. So last week, in my last video, I was talking about the Mount Rushmore of basketball. By Mount Rushmore of basketball, I meant to say, who is the best starting 5? Now, here's my thing. I did it based on my era, the basketball that I watched. I've been watching basketball since about 2000. So I didn't get to see Michael Jordan in his prime. I didn't get to see Scottie Pippen. I didn't get to see Isaiah Thomas. I didn't get to see Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. I saw teams like Kobe, Shaq, Steve Nash, Dirk Nowitzki, Allen Iverson, Carmelo when he came out, LeBron when he came out, Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Joe Johnson. I saw those guys play. And I got to thinking, who would be that Rushmore? Who would give me that? What starting 5 would be the best starting 5 from if you play from the 2000 until now? And here's the 5 players that I'm putting on my starting 5. Stephen Curry is my point guard. He's the greatest shooter ever. I don't think there's an argument out there that can say that he's not. He's the greatest 3-point shooter out there. At number 2, at my shooting guard, I got Kobe. I don't think you can't make an argument that anybody in the league is better than Kobe from 2000 onward. You can't make that argument. I'm sorry. You can't make an argument in his position. There's not a lot of players that could stop him. He was dominant. Kobe is great. My small forward, I got LeBron. At his natural position, LeBron is a GOAT. LeBron is one of the GOATs of basketball. It's time for him. I think the notion that, the arguments, all that, if LeBron James isn't on your Mount Rushmore of basketball, do you really know the sport? And my power forward, Tim Duncan. It was a hard one because I do like Dirk, but Tim Duncan was more iconic. I love Tim. Tim Duncan was that guy. Tim Duncan was one hell of a power forward. And at center, Shaq. If you don't put Shaq in your Mount Rushmore, if you don't put Shaq in your starting 5, if you think any of these players that are centers or power forwards could beat Shaq in a straight up pound for pound ball other than Ben Wallace, then you don't know basketball. I don't need to talk to you about basketball. Basketball is not your sport. Stick to whatever you know because you don't know sports. Shaq was the guy. That's the starting 5 right there. With my starting 5, Stephen Curry, 4 rings. Kobe, 5. LeBron, 4. Tim Duncan, 5. Shaq, 4. Which means, all in all, I have a collective of about 22 rings. Let me see. 4, 8, 12, 22 rings. Yeah. 22 NBA championship rings within this collective of my starting 5. That's my Mount Rushmore. And the reason why I brought this subject up is because I got asked, like, when I go to the barbershop and we always have these debates, who's better, blah, blah. And some people were saying, they would put Devin Booker and Jalen. Those guys are good. Yes, they are good. I love those guys, KD, whatever. But nothing compares to these five guys. You can't tell me there is. You can't tell me. Whatever. Try to tell me. But that's all for my NBA take on that one. My last thing of the night is our most favorite, the week 3 predictions. Everyone loves predictions. I wonder if I can do better this week. I'm hoping that I can. I would love to get all the games right, but let's get into it. So tomorrow, Thursday night, we have the Giants versus the 49ers. I'm giving it to the 49ers. We have the Falcons and the Lions to start off our Sunday. I'm giving it to the Lions. I think the Falcons, yes, they're 2-0, but I think the Lions are going to top them off and beat them off. Chargers and Vikings. Now, remember, I said that the Chargers and the Vikings, they need critical wins. But now that they're playing each other, 2-0-2 teams, I'm giving it to the Vikings wholeheartedly. At home, it's the afternoon. I think the Vikings get after it and get that win. Packers and Saints. I gave it to the Saints. I like Jordan Love. I really do. But I think Derek Carr has been playing pretty good, and I think that defense is going to be too much to handle in that Packers offensive line. Texans and Jaguars. I give it to the Jaguars. I love CJ Stroud. I like him. But Trevor Lawrence has to make a comeback. He's going to prove a point. It is what it is. Dolphins and Broncos. I said the Broncos needed a win. They're not getting it here at all. They're not getting this game. The Dolphins are not playing around with anybody. I love the Dolphins offense. Tyreek Hill, Tua, Waddle. They're not playing. That head coach got swag, bro. If you didn't see that, if you didn't watch that game on Sunday, I don't know what to tell you. It's the Dolphins. I'm telling you, the Dolphins are winning that game. Titans and Browns. This is a hard one, but I'm giving it to the Browns. This is DeShaun's moment to make a comeback. He needs to win. The Titans, yes, they're a one-trick pony, but I think that defense for the Browns is going to stop the run game really bad. Bills and Commanders. As much as I wanted to say the Commanders, I took the safer bet and I gave it to the Bills. Yes, but here's my thing. Remember what I said. If Josh Allen throws 2 or more picks, they lose a game. Promise you. Whatever. Colts and the Ravens. The Colts do not have Anthony Richardson. I think he'll be out with a concussion. So I'm going to give it to the Ravens. I think Lamar Jackson's been playing really good ball, and I think it's going to continue on to week 3. Jets and Patriots. I wanted to give it to the Jets. The Jets have a really good defense, but I'm giving it to the Patriots because it's the safer bet. Just because if they don't let Mac Jones ball out, Zach Wilson won't. So I guess that's just how it's going to work out. Seahawks and Panthers. I gave it to the Seahawks. I think Geno Smith has another phenomenal week. Chiefs and Bears. I don't even have to say nothing. If you think the Bears will beat the Chiefs with Justin Fields on the field, go ahead and just leave the room. Go ahead. Then we got the Cowboys and the Cardinals. Cowboys, obviously. It is what it is. Steelers and the Raiders. I gave it to the Steelers. I honestly think it's the safer bet, but I don't know. I think the Steelers. I think the Raiders. Jimmy Garoppolo might play enough to where he could beat the Steelers, but I think the Steelers are trying to figure out something, and they might beat the Raiders. The Eagles and the Buccaneers. This was a hard one for me because I had to literally sit here for like 10 minutes when I made this to figure out if I like that matchup. I do. Do I think that the Buccaneers has a chance to beat the Eagles? I do. But the safer bet is to go with the Eagles. Wholeheartedly, he's the safest bet. Jalen Hurts is the safest bet. Then we got the Bengals and the Rams. I gave it to the Bengals. If for some reason they don't win this game, we have to have a serious talk next week. But for now, it's the Bengals. I think they need this game to bounce back. If they don't take this game to bounce back, then I don't know what to say about the Bengals, except we got to have a serious talk. Anyways, guys, it's been awesome. 4 episodes in, doing this week by week, getting more followers, getting more views. Hopefully I can get these views up. If you support, if you like, please like the channel on YouTube. Please like I'm on Spotify. I'm on Apple Podcasts. I'm on Amazon Podcasts, Google Podcasts. I'm everywhere, man. I'm on Spotify all the time. I'll be on TikTok. Everything that you guys need to know about the football season, I am here for. I'm here to give you the news. And the same thing with basketball about to come back up. I'm here for it. I love sports. So this is my passion. So thank you guys. Thank you to all my loyal followers. I truly appreciate you. You guys have a great night. Stay blessed. And we're out. Overtime is over.